Hey Jerry,
Hey Rob, how are you?
good, very good. I'm just going to blur my background. Blur. There we are.
Blur, you know what? Whenever I blur my background, I get distracted. I
Oh
can't do
yeah,
it.
it does weird things. It does weird things.
It does. It really does. How is everything in New Zealand these days?
Oh, fabulous. It's autumn, fall, and which is nice. It's a great time of year. I've been making this course, and I'm just recording. I've done two of the. It's about 15 days of recording in it, and it's a course for coaches. It's amazing, and it just keeps getting better and better. And I keep bringing in new material, and I'll tell you about that in a second. So it's by far the best course I've ever made. I'm very excited about it. It's aimed at people like coaches, and oh my goodness, there's a bellbird outside there. It's a pretty
Sounds
special
great.
bird. Yeah, it's a beautiful bird. I got the door open. You can hear the water on the water feature, but there's a bellbird nearby. They're quite rare and very special native bird. Anyway, so it's for coaches, consultants, people like that. And what I realized is that many of them get stuck in various places, and this is basically how to take your coaching business to the next level, whatever level you're at, whether you're starting or whether you're doing one-to-one and you're stuck there, or whether you want to make an online course or start doing group coaching or whatever it might be. So, and the reasons they get stuck, there's a bunch of reasons. Some is to do with their beliefs around money and asking for money, around sales and asking for the sale, and also about pricing, about charging what they're really worth and getting paid many hundreds of dollars an hour instead of a low amount per hour. And putting that whole thing together, showing them how to make packages and to put pricing bundles together that focus on what they deliver and the value they give rather than the hourly rate. And like I've got 3 or 4 coaching packages to do with online marketing on our website. And by far the most popular one is the most expensive one. And which is very interesting. And you have to do a little bit of math to work out what the hourly rate is, because it doesn't actually say. It says you get so many sessions of this duration plus various other things. And what they look at is, if I do this with Rob, then I'm going to get the following result. So that's all they look at, which it works really well. So I got a bunch of different packages that are all result focused. And so I showed them how to do all of that. So essentially, a lot of people have limiting beliefs around money and sales and marketing and tech when it comes to coaching. And so we help them through all of that. And then the second thing I teach them is that everybody wants to write a book and have a podcast, right? And that's all very well, but when you're starting out in coaching, you got no audience, so nobody's going to read your book and nobody's going to listen to your podcast. So they're wonderful things to do, and if you really want to do them, by all means do them, but they won't grow your business if you're at the beginning stages, right? So I explained to them that the beginning stage of coaching up to like maybe 30,000 a year is talking to people one-on-one and finding out exactly what they will pay for and what they won't. So you can test drive all your ideas with that, and you get good at enrolling people. And when you're making 30,000 or more, you can then sort of potentially move to small groups. And you can also start thinking about getting a website that's going to grow your email list, which is the secret to growing any online business and many other businesses too. And so that goes up to about like 30 to 100,000. And from 100,000 onwards, you would focus seriously on list building. You're still doing one-on-one, you might be doing small groups, large groups, and you be thinking then about making online courses. And I can show them how to make online courses as well, because we've been doing that for years. And that level goes up to sort of $1 million a year. And from then onwards is what we call the authority or the ascended level, where you really are a bit of a star and people are getting to know who you are, and you can charge very large amounts per hour if somebody wants to buy the hour, but you're hard to get to. And then you write your book and sell it to your list, and all these affiliates will sell it for you as well. And your book is actually not just a book, it's actually another entree, because it has links back into your own products and services. So the book is not just the book, it's actually a high level marketing strategy as well. Then you have a podcast that lots of people will know about and follow. And so what I'm saying, there are strategies depending on where you're at in your business, and everybody tends to dive into the big level strategies because they see all the stars, the rock star coaches doing it, and they think, I want to be like that. And they realize that, well, hold on, if you want to get to the top level, you got to actually walk up the other levels first.
I
So
love that. And where is that on your website?
it will be. So I'm just making the sales page, and it will be on the prosperitylab.com. And it will also be on the International Coach Registry.com. So the prosperitylab.com and the International Coach Registry.com. It started out as a course about personal branding, and everybody seemed really interested in that. And then it grew from just personal branding into this other stuff. And then the latest thing I should say, I was talking to Jessica just yesterday, Jessica Arty, the newapproachtolife.com, who's, as you know, like just probably the world leading coach when it comes to limiting beliefs. And so the cat's meowing somewhere. What does she want? Anyway, so she said, why don't you put in this limiting belief stuff like part of the process she uses? So I added that in, and she's just having a look at that, where we use that amazing process where you identify your limiting belief around money or sales or whatever it might be, and then you seek evidence to prove that that belief is false. And so we've got a simple version of that process that will be in that course as well. And it's hard, I think, for a lot of people to accept that their attitudes around asking a decent price for their coaching services, and valuing themselves, telling their story in a kind of show-off sort of way in their bio and in their about page, and talking to people they know about what they do, asking for the order, so to speak, how to enroll people. So a lot of, in marketing and sales, a lot of people who are into helping other people, like coaches tend to be, and a lot of spiritual people tend to have hang-ups about all those things that you and I do quite naturally as businessmen. So, but it's how to do it authentically is really the thing, and how to stay true, because this course is by far the best course I ever made. And when I made my first online course 4 or 5 years ago, my mentality, I have to say, was more about how do I get people to buy it? And I didn't really care if it was the ideal course for them. I just wanted to rack up the sales, right? Which is what you and I call the old approach to business. And one of my coaches back then, a wonderful man who had done some work in the past with Deepak Chopra and Wayne Dyer, he was talking about an authentic approach to sales. And the words registered, but the thought never did. And so I eventually understood what he was saying, that if you have a discovery call with a potential client, then a discovery call truly is that. It's not just an excuse to stitch them up, right? Which is what I thought of back in the old approach to life and selling. So a discovery call truly is like, I was talking to a friend I hadn't spoken to for 10 years yesterday. And I said, Ian, you should really think about this course, because you've got coaching skills, you've got a lot to give, and it will show you how to get past some of the roadblocks. But he's in his late 60s and he's just had enough. And he said, no, I've tried to do some coaching, and he's run courses and things in the past. He said, and he gave me his list of limiting beliefs around it. So I thought, okay, I can see he's stuck there and he's not actually ready to do anything. So, but then I had another thought, you see, and I was happy to talk to him, because I knew that if he took this course, that he actually would know how to make, he needs some money. He would know, how to offer his services, get people to like them, and how to package them up at a good price. So he gave me this crazy thing that he reckoned that New Zealanders are closed to shifting their beliefs. They're too close-minded. He lived in Germany for a while, and he reckons Europeans aren't like that, which I just thought was a load of baloney, because people are people wherever they are, and I don't find that to be true at all. But, of course, when I was describing this to Jessica, she made the very good point that he's getting that response from clients when he was coaching, because that's what he believed about himself. So they were just reflecting his own limitations and beliefs, and the ways in which he doesn't value himself. Like, if you're not convinced yourself deeply and truly, people pick that up, and they will reflect that back to you by questioning your stuff. And anyway, but then I thought, because I was coming from a place, I'm describing how I used a sales process with a very dear friend, and I felt really good about it, and I didn't feel like I was selling, because this course really is the bee's knees. It's really the goods, right? So I then said, well, a lot of coaches, because he's actually done a lot of what we used to call men's work, and he was a leader in that stuff in New Zealand for many years, which is where I met him back in about 1993 or something, and on 94, doing a course called Essentially Men, and then The Essence of Men, which is kind of very interesting work. Anyway, that's a whole other story. But so he's very, very accomplished, and he knows lots and lots of coaches in that space. So I said, well, the course is amazing. It would suit a lot of the people you know. So when I made the sales page, I'll send that to you, and we have an affiliate link, which means that anybody that uses your link, they get 50% off whatever they pay for the course. So what I'm saying is, I in the old speech, the old talk, we would say, I did 2 closes, tried 2 closes on him. You could say that's the old speak from sales from way back for you and me. But it actually came from a different place. It came from a place of, if you wanted to do some coaching, this will get you past whatever your roadblocks are, whether they are limiting beliefs or whether you just don't know the sequence of the steps in coaching and the technology and the website, and all of which we handle. So, but he's actually not up for that. Well, currently he's not. He might change his mind, but he's got limiting beliefs. He also said to me, he said, I realized I'm no good at making money, so I'm not trying to do that anymore. And I thought, whoa, that's the mother of all beliefs, limiting beliefs. Yeah. Anyway, so when I first met him, he was somebody that was a relatively advanced traveler in the belief systems we were exploring. And, he was somebody I learned a lot from. But I see he's got stuck here, and with the work that you and I've been doing through the Joshua community around our limiting beliefs and all that sort of stuff, and being less judgmental and less fearful, I can see that it's like Jessica described it as, oh, well, the student is now teaching the teacher. And I said, I don't think he's ever going to listen to any of this. She said, you might be surprised. And she gave me an example of her sister who's been completely closed to using the systems that Jessica has, the limiting belief process. And then suddenly her sister says, tell me about this form you used around manifestation events and limiting beliefs. So Jessica told her, and her sister took it and spent 3 hours on it. And Jessica said, I'm shocked that my sister asked for it, and I'm shocked that she did it. And she said, it's one of the best processes I've ever seen. And she said, it's just amazing. So I thought that was really interesting as well. So she gave me that as an example to say, don't assume that your friend is a closed book on this forever. And I mean, I'm going to see him next time I go to his city, and we'll catch up, and it will be great. And we go way, way back. We had a group of 5 guys we put together, had done all this men's work together, and also a thing called co-counseling, which was created by a guy called John Heron. And we worked with this New Zealand guy called Rex McCann, who has written a few books about men's work, which have some of my photos in them, actually. And did you know that I'm a multimedia photojournalist?
I did not.
No,
I love that.
I just have photos in one book. Anyway, it was at a men's camp, and there was I think maybe a day when Stuns came, and I took this amazing photo with my long lens of this dad with his little boy, and it was like complete engagement and tenderness, and it just captured the essence of exploring the father-son relationship. So they went in the book. Anyway, so that was all very interesting, and I'm using that as an example of how it didn't feel like selling, because I know that this is a really good product that I've made. It's got so much in it from so many sources, and it really gets to the nitty-gritty of what stops all the coaches. We see them all the time everywhere, who just can't get past, or can't get started, or they can't really get it going, and they never quite know why, and they process their limiting beliefs and it still doesn't get them there. And it's because they might process their limiting beliefs and their fears if they've done that successfully, but you still need to know these are the stages of building that kind of a business. And it's pretty hard to make it work if you jump the stages, unless you have a big list or access to one, or you're something of, a celebrity or well-known person already, so have an audience or whatever. So anyway, so it didn't feel like selling. I was really just trying to help him because I know that, well, what he would pay me for the course if I didn't give it to him for free as a friend is nothing compared to how much he could make by doing it, and how much fun he would have, and his self-esteem would improve, and all the rest of it. So I'm buzzed about that, and that is why.
I love that. Hey, I'm kind of inspired to say, I'll pay for your course, and let's do it. Let's do a YouTube video on me doing the course.
Yeah.
Right. And let's post it. I just started doing Instagram videos, right, and doing all the stuff that we're doing. If TikTok, we did if we took an hour every day and someone said, hey, you want to know what the course is? Obviously we wouldn't give away all the secrets, but hey, I'll do the work and we'll share it and you'll review it and we'll talk about it and we'll talk about the results. That could be a great way, right?
So this is interesting, because this is great. I love that. We're going to do this. this is very interesting to me because this course seems to be magnetizing and drawing things in. Whereas in the past, it was like, who can you sell? And you and I know how that works, right? From years in business. But with this course, I just need to tell people about it. And everyone's like, oh, I totally get that. That's what everybody needs. Yep, I want that. So-and-so needs that. So, and so a lot of the people who buy it will actually be affiliates as well, and they will get 50%. Like, ultimately, it will be like $9.97 US for the course when I've added 2 more components in it. But it's $4.97 US, but we're doing a beta launch right now, so it'll be $2.97 US just on the first launch.
Yeah,
and it'll be $4.97.
I'll be your customer. Let's film it. Let's show all the results. Yeah. Right? How much fun would we have with that?
It will be a lot of fun. It will be a lot of fun. Yeah.
You can coach me along the way. You can show everybody. And by the way, we can track because I just started, right? I mean, we can track so much. We're talking about starting from 0, right? I mean, this is really like an incredible beta. Like, to give you an example, which is so cool. Like, I've gotten, like, I don't know if you know who Tony Child is.
No.
So he's a coach, right? You can look him up on Instagram. There's a guy also, Craig Siegel, CLS. These guys have a few 100,000 followers on Instagram, social media. But like, they're actually reaching out to me. Like, I've gotten DMs from them. Hey, can we talk? Can we do this? And I started laughing. I'm like, do what? Like, some guy asked me, he's like, what's your goal with this? He said, your content is insane. What's your goal?
That's the thing. What you need is the audience, right? So you need the list build, right? So you need, if you want to go down that path, right, and actually offer, like, so
I'll follow your course. Whatever your course recommends, we'll do. Like, we'll just do it.
So I'll talk about that in a minute, and about you doing this, which is very interesting that it popped up. But in my course, I say, I'm constantly amazed that when I just start talking to people about what I do and how we help people, just chatting like this, I'm constantly amazed how many opportunities come out of that. And if you've got something really good, like if you've got a product, which I call a blockbuster, we've had a lot of products, but this one is going to be a blockbuster, I'm sure of it. And we'll see, but I'm sure it will be. My 92-year-old mother, who has no comprehension of the internet and has never used a keyboard, she's saying, so what have you been up to? And I said, well, I'm making an online course. Tracy and I are making this course. What's that? And I explained it. And she has zero. It was the most hilarious conversation. She's very clever, very intelligent woman, but she's got no concept of the internet, or that somebody can just pop their head up and make a course and be an expert, which she was like, really? Do people do this? And people buy it. And then she said, how much money are you going to make from it? And I said, well, I'll tell you at the end of the year. She said, oh, okay. And she asked all these insightful questions, which was interesting to me because she kind of got into a groove where I could feel the inspiration coming to her to ask these questions, which were right at the edge or beyond her knowledge of the topic. It's like, man, that's a really insightful question.
So, and do you have you set up like an Instagram page for this yet, or?
No, so, I don't use Instagram for those businesses, but I've got 2 Facebook pages and a group. So
so like, just so you understand, like Instagram, like my Instagram and Facebook are the same. Like, I post to Instagram and I post to Facebook.
Sure.
But what we can do is, the name of this course, you create a page for it. That way, every time I do a video, I'll hashtag it, I'll tag it.
Yeah.
And all you do is have to post like links in your on the pages.
I'll make a note of that. I'll do that.
Because it kind of give you an idea.
I'll make an Instagram for that course, just so we can hashtag.
Yeah, just because everything we do, every time I do a video, I'll hashtag you, and we'll see where and then you're on the same side. You're also like, we're all learning together. Like, oh my God, I started this with 0. I did 1 guy, and this is how many followers I have now.
Yeah.
Like, to give you an example, like I hashtag Joshua Teachings and Joshua Live. When I first started doing that, they were 0. I was the first. Right. Now there's 5,000. So when I look at Joshua, when I I hashtag Joshua Teachings, it used to say fewer than, you're the only one, fewer than 100, fewer than 1,000, 5,000. Like TikTok on hashtag Joshua's Teaching, TikTok is at like 15,000.
TikTok is the organic platform of the moment. And
I do it both, and I'll be using all those platforms, and I'll use all those platforms, tag you on all that stuff, and we'll see. This is going to be fun. It is.
So there's 2 things I want to say. The first thing is, in the course, I say to people exactly this. Like, I'm constantly amazed that when you just start talking to people about this stuff, then where the opportunities arise, and they often arise in the least expected, the most unexpected place. Like, I didn't see that coming. Like, I didn't see this coming, although I had kind of assumed that you weren't particularly interested in coaching. I don't know why, and maybe you are, maybe you aren't, but I was talking to Jessica yesterday, and we agreed that you would be an absolute natural, and because you present really well and you come across really well and you've got a lot of energy. So those aspects of your personal brand, your persona, because there's a lot of stuff written that says that people won't believe the message unless they believe the messenger. And so if you come across with energy and drive and enthusiasm, and it's obvious you're authentic and believe what you're doing and what you're saying, then that part of you've already got some cut through that most people can't, because people don't like being sold, but people don't mind at all. It's like ads. People say, oh, I hate ads on Facebook or whatever, but if you see an ad about something you're really interested in, something really important like trout fishing flies or fountain pens, something really earth-shattering, or whatever you're into, or lacrosse or whatever, if you see an ad for that thing that you're passionate about, then you think, oh, that's good targeting. I'm glad what is this thing? So in other words, it's about the relevance of the message. So people don't like being sold or try when someone tries to stitch them into something which is not right for them. But when you find a person who's good at it, I mean, I don't know about you, but when I work with a salesperson who's really good and I'm interested in what they have, to me, it's a pleasure, because they help you to get to the point you need to make the decision you want to make. So anyway, so the first thing is the course talks about this process of just talking to people and how opportunities arise if you do this often enough. And a woman I worked with, a coach, calls that process chatterboxing. So she gives everything a name. So she calls it chatterboxing, and she tells everyone to chatterbox. And then the second thing I want to say was, when Jessica and I talked about this yesterday, that you will be an absolute natural for this. So if you want an alternative source of income, or whether you just want to be an affiliate, to mention the course, and hand out your affiliate link, either way, besides it being fun, it's a revenue opportunity for both of us. And this is the new approach to business happening here live.
That's what I'm interested in. So what you just said, what intrigues me, and I think you and I were on the call, and the other Jessica, was it Atui? How do you pronounce her last name? Jessica, our Limiting Beliefs.
Yeah, Awati, Jessica Awati.
Awati,
Yeah,
who is
the new approach to life.com. Yeah.
The greatest, limiting beliefs coach on the planet. Hello, right? I mean,
yeah.
So she said something the other day that I have not been able to get out of my mind, and I kind of absolutely love it. And it's kind of what you're doing, and you're taking her, because she's very focused on limiting beliefs. It's all about limiting beliefs for her, and I love the way you're contextualizing it to everyone's life, right? And how they can actually, well, if you like this so much and you realize these are things you want to do, and you can process these limiting beliefs and then achieve your life, right? I love that base which you're setting. I mean, to me, you're not selling, you're helping people achieve their greatest possible life.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is like, first, you got to be careful giving money back guarantees on courses. But, we were on a call the other day, and Kimberly was talking about her new nutrition consultancy business. And I haven't spoken to her about this, but I thought, I can see where she's stuck. I can see the limiting belief she has, and I can see the business pieces of that jigsaw that are missing for her. She's missing the following components, and that's all she needs, and she's away. And so with someone like her that I know, well, I wouldn't hesitate to give her a money back guarantee. And I say in one of the early emails in the course that I'd be very surprised if you do what's in this course and don't make many times the cost of the course, even when it's $1,000. When it's $1,000, I'm going to include some stuff around how to create an online course, and also on how to build a funnel, or list build funnel. So we touch on that briefly, but it's actually reasonably complex. And in our website builder, we have a funnel builder as well. People get a funnel, but they're quite complex to make. This is where you offer some free downloads, for example, on your.
You got to have multiple offers too, right? You got to have multiple offers. You got to have built your portfolio, your offering, right?
Yeah. So you have 2 or 3, for example. We call them lead magnets or opt-in gifts. So you have these things which might be a PDF that describes a process that someone can use, a short PDF. And if it's good enough, they'll give you their name and email, and then they go onto your automated email, your blog or your videos or whatever. So they get to know you. And so once they get to know you and like you and trust you, then when you say, hey, I have my new course or my new group coaching, whatever it is, are you interested? Then many of them will be interested. So that's how you move your business from the one-on-one to the next level, is with a list building funnel. But because when you go to those things, quite often you go through a sequence of pages to actually get the thing. And there's long ways in doing it and short ways of doing it. But on the long way of doing it, you click the button or the call to action on the homepage or wherever it is and saying, yeah, I'm interested in that thing. And then it goes to a page which is known as a squeeze page, which says, here is what we're going to give you, and here's what it's going to do for you, and here's why you should give me your name and email. And you go, okay. And then a pop-up appears and you put in your name and email. And then the next page appears, which is a thank you page, and says, your free gift is on its way. And in the meantime, here's how to make sure you get my emails and, whitelist and blah, blah. And then they get the email, and the email, believe it or not, clicks to the final page, which is the page that delivers the goodies, the value page and the value email. So by that stage, they've had, 4 or 5 or 6 different connections with you. So they're actually starting to know who you are, recognize your brand, and you're kind of training them with these micro commitments to click your stuff because it's worth doing. So that's the whole kind of list build funnel process, you see. So we do those, but they're quite time consuming, so it's not a cheap thing.
Right.
But
no,
it's going to be a module. That'll be a whole module in this course. When I put it at $9.97, it'll include how to do that and what the pages are and what the copy looks like and what the elements are and the fact that you don't have any menu items or other links on your squeeze page, blah, blah, blah. So we explain all of that list build funnel stuff. But the point is a lot of people want to start doing that immediately, but if you don't have a product that people want by talking to people one-on-one at the very beginning, you can't ever progress to that, because until you're good at enrolling people one-on-one, you'll never get good at enrolling people one-to-many.
Right. Have you ever heard of Russell Brunson?
Yeah.
Yeah, he wrote that. I took a course with him on funnels. And I really enjoyed it. I read his book. I think it was The Traffic, right? Which is book. I forget his.
I've got that book. It's you haven't got it here, but I have got it.
Interesting. So and it's so funny that you said this. So the reason why I wanted to write a book, and what I'm finding is I'm creating lots of chapters. It's easy, like what we're talking about. Like if you took every episode we ever did, it could be a chapter in a book. Somebody could just transcribe that and have an editor fix it up, right? I like that aspect, right? And I think the book, like for Gary, I would tell him once the audio that Jessica did is done, anybody that signs up and gets an email gets that audio for free. Like you give people the book for free. Tony Robbins, every book he's ever had.
Some people charge nothing for the book. Mostly people charge the package and posting, like the
handling, shipping and handling.
Yeah. And some people charge for the book, and some people send a physical book, a paper book, and inside they have special links, that then get you into their environment. And some people have just like an ebook, right? Like on Amazon or wherever they deliver it. So so that is an advanced strategy really to make it work for you, because the book will never reach many people unless you've got a big list. But also you need to have a proven product so that affiliates will market your book. What's that?
Well, it depends on the purpose of the book, right? See, let's take 2 steps back. If somebody wants to write a book, I always ask them, like, why? Like, okay, why? Well, when I first wanted to write a book, right before I started, this was 2 or 3 years ago. I actually wrote a book 5 years ago about what happened to me. It was literally a horror story. So I never did anything with it, because somebody said to me, I actually had a coach at the time that I was seeing. He said to me, I don't even know what to say. You can't continue to talk about your past. It's like you
that book could be a chapter in a new book about redemption.
Yeah, right.
Because everyone wants the redemption message, right? So people will read about your, terrible moment when you are nearly dead on the floor, but they will only want to read that to the extent they know that you came out of that and how you redeemed yourself, right?
So funny. That's so funny you say that. That's exactly right. So the first purpose I was starting to realize, and then I took a course from Pete Vargas, And then I took this Russell Brunson, and I took a whole bunch of other courses. And I realized that the only reason why I wanted to write a book was to get people interested in what I was thinking about. I wasn't to make money. It wasn't to, at first it was to tell my story. Then it was to prove that I was smart. And that since I didn't have a degree in psychology, right, or whatever, I didn't have initials after my name, a book would give me that clout, right? And then I realized I didn't need the book and I didn't need the education. I needed the experience. And I'm like, oh my gosh, but I wanted to share my experience with people. So and everybody's reason for a book, and I actually went and hired a guy. It was a few grand to just start to do the editing. And then I stopped it all to self-publish my book because I realized that I wasn't going to keep reliving my past. Like, I'm done with reliving my past. It's all about the future.
Yeah. You know, good therapy for a period. But I remember when after my first marriage broke up, I went to see a psychologist or a counselor or a therapist, whatever you want to call him. And he said something about what if you recast your story, reframing? We talk about reframing. And instead of these things happening to you, why don't you tell me your story now with you as the hero? And I thought, whoa. I love it. And I mean, I struggled with it, but I mean, years later, I really totally am starting to understand that. Anyway, with the book. So people, like I said at the beginning, if you want to write a book, by all means, write your book. But if you want to use it as a business growth strategy, then it's not going to work for you until you have some other things under your belt. So you will need to have a list, and you will also need to have enough influence that people will promote your book as affiliates, for example, at a price or whatever. So it needs to lead somewhere. Otherwise, your book won't get any distribution, and that needs to come from your list, and normally comes from other people's lists as well. So the woman I've done a lot of work with in LA, she banked 7 million last year, and she's aiming for 10 this year, and I'm certain she'll do it. And she's now thinking about writing her book, and she's got a massive audience, right? She's only now thinking about writing a book about her blockbuster product.
I love that. And you know, you're right. So it's like, what is the reason, right? And that goes back. So I realized that the first book that I wrote, which will never be published, never be sent, it'll be burned, right, was just
a ritual burning will be good when you're ready.
Right. What it was a process for me to get over what happened. It was just for me, right?
Yeah.
And as you and I are doing this, like I keep saying, and I think every time we talk, I get like a whole new set of chapters, and I don't know where it's going. Somebody asked me, a guy, he said to me, hey, listen, what are you looking to do out of this? Like, I love your content. Would you like to come on and be on one of my coaching calls? And I was like, wow, thanks. That's really kind. He's like, what are you looking to do? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I've always been involved in inspiring, mentoring, and coaching, literally from my very early ages, right? No matter what I've been doing.
Yeah. So what sort of people would you most want to work with? Would you prefer to work like, because there's two broad divisions in coaching, and there's some crossover, but there's life coaches who work with people on their personal stuff, and business coaches who work with different aspects of business, which can be kind of, you know, quite quantitative stuff like sales approaches, but it also can be leadership and beliefs and all that sort of stuff. So you can work with business people on the personal side, or you can, so like who was,
it's a great question. So when I said to the guy,
like, who would be your ideal client? What does that person look like?
Yeah, I've thought about that. So the struggle I have with current business, and as a business leader in the industry I'm in, you know, roles from presidents to chief operating officers to CEOs, right? It's the current mindset, the current mass pendulum approach is this is just business. It doesn't make a difference if you're miserable or not. You got to push forward and get revenue.
Yeah.
So to be the only voice of stepping out of that, I have struggled. Now I will tell you this. The interesting part is every one of the business executives that I've worked with have appreciated my directness, my ability to get things done. But what they actually comment on is my Instagram reels. All of people I used to work for presidency, hey, You're the most inspiring person I've ever met. You always have been.
Right.
So in the business sense,
yeah,
they're not ready. Shouldn't say not ready. The people that I have met with aren't always ready to embrace the new way of thinking, but people who are looking for a lifestyle change. Now that can be business CEOs looking for a lifestyle change.
well,
And that's where I could currently step in.
Yeah, I thought about that, and I thought about when we talked about whether or not I make a course about the new approach to money, and I kind of drifted into where I got stuck was exactly this point. It's like, well, if people are ready to make a change, that requires them to give up, as they feel, their high income and their status and toys and everything else. But I think there's actually another place for all of this, and those people might still want to carry on doing the work they're doing, but they can do it with a different mindset. So what I want to say is that people often feel that if they were to actually let go of all that power and control stuff, the old approach to business, and adopt a new approach to business, they feel that they might suddenly fail and fall flat on their face, but it's not necessarily true. But a classic example, Gary Vaynerchuk, who I know.
Oh, love him.
Yeah. Well, he's an amazing man. So several years ago, I'm talking about 3 or 4 years ago, and I haven't heard him comment on this since. I haven't followed him lately, but he's an amazing guy. But he said, he predicted that meditation and meditation apps and courses would explode. So he could see that the world, the business world and people were ready for this and really needed that. But he also said that he essentially was too scared to try meditation because he figured he might lose his edge or his drive or something else, and it would all crash in a terrible heap for him. Whereas you and I know that he is so driven and so clued up that that's never going to change. Like, the guy's a dynamo. So if he actually meditated, all he would do is, first of all, find a quiet place, but secondly, he'd get even more ideas and even better ideas. And so that's the fear that people, pardon?
I said I couldn't agree more. You're right.
Yeah, so that's the fear that a lot of people have, a lot of business people have. It's like, no, I'm not going to go for all that kind of, woo-woo BS because it doesn't work in business and da 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 da. So, but it's not actually true. So what I'm saying is, it doesn't just have to be for people who want to have, it's like the monk who sold his Ferrari kind of a thing, right? It doesn't have to be that. Like, you may find that your desire for toys diminishes once you do this work. And if your desire for toys diminishes and you really don't care anymore, like I spent a fortune on cars, as you know, but our current vehicle, and it's the 4th Subaru Forester we've had, and it's the car that I've had the most fun in because it's awesome for skiing and snowboarding and trout fishing, driving out riverbeds and driving on farm tracks and going into the backcountry. And it's not an expensive car, but it does everything I need really quite well, very well. They're great cars, but there's no status in a car like that whatsoever. Whereas I used to be, I wouldn't be seen dead in anything other than my Audi or my Mercedes, But now it's like, I don't think I actually want to drive those anymore because I can get all the things I want in a far cheaper package, and I've lost the interest in spending that money. So my point is that your monthly nut may reduce anyway once you get past all of those status hang-ups about cars and find another car that does the job perfectly at a quarter of the price. So that may or may not happen to somebody, but if it does, then it's suddenly one of the reasons why they want that high-paying job starts to disappear. So the other thing I want to say is that when people come to you, business people, and they hear your inspiring stuff and all the rest of it, you may have a message which is, well, this is only going to work for if you change your life and you actually take a new approach to life. So in this process, there's what you call front door needs and back door needs, right? So a front door need is what the person will arrive at saying, can you help me with this? And I know that what they really need is something somewhat different. That's the back door need. But you're never going to ever get a client enrolling with you if you just approach the back door need, right? So the front door need is they have some issue with their life. It might be their stress, their satisfaction, their happiness. They can't sleep, whatever it might be. They're using tranquilizers, whatever that thing is that people take, Prozac, or they're using, methamphetamine to, get through the day, or they're drinking too much or eating badly, or whatever it is. They're bad-tempered, worried about their marriage, which used to be brilliant. Kids are kind of estranged, whatever. So those are all the front door needs, right? But we know that the back door need behind all of that is around their limiting beliefs and their manic attempts to try and control everything in a kind of they're living a whack-a-mole life.
It's beautiful what you say. I love that concept. Just to go back, I had made a few notes because I love what you were saying. The Gary Vee thing, and I couldn't agree more. I love the guy. I follow him all over. He had once said, hey, I wish, and talk about somebody with a limiting belief. His limiting belief is significant. He actually once said, sometimes I wish I could lose it all just to show you how easy it was to make it. And for me, I tell
you've
people,
already done that, right? You could say, hey, Gary, look, I've done
right.
that. I do that all the time, man.
That's 100% right.
Here it is. Here it goes. Here it comes again.
I had a $15 million business. Money was coming in. It was right here in my hands, spending it, doing whatever. I lost $15 million, went through bankruptcy. Done.
You lost more than I did.
I couldn't pay rent. I had a notice, which I saved, which I'm going to put in the book I have. That was a back rears. It was like $110,000 in back rears, or they were going to evict my family and I. My kids were in preschool. I was getting notices there that they couldn't go to preschool. They weren't allowed back in preschool because I couldn't pay the bills. Like I get that you don't want to lose what you've already had. I've been there, man. Right? We've all been there. It's
you don't have to know, right?
So
you don't have
draining.
You don't have to lose it.
But you don't have. It's 100% right.
Yeah.
That's the most beautiful. See,
you and I did because we wouldn't listen. We had to bludgeon ourselves into submission to finally listen. But you don't have to be that stupid.
No. Drop the mic. That's brilliant. But you're right. So the whole thing is you don't have to change your life. That's what I tell people. I'm going out to dinner with this guy.
I think this is the niche, right? I can see a really powerful niche for you there, and you can become kind of like the CEO coach and bring something really special to it. And all of your Instagram reels and everything else. I mean, if people love that stuff, then already got the connection and the trust, right? You just need to have the offer. So I didn't say with the course, it started out being called personal branding, and that really resonated with people, right? But it's actually it's more about starting or growing a coaching business, including personal branding. So that's, it needs a powerful name, and I'll come up with that eventually, but that's
it'll come to you during meditation, right? I mean, that's ultimately what's going to happen.
Totally.
Yeah.
Or in the shower, right? And because as Joshua said, you get the thoughts in the shower. Why? Because you don't have your phone.
Yeah. By the way, no question. So this is an underlining. This is Jessica said this, and this would be great for you to play with as like an underlining tagline for your course, right? In the new approach to life, we don't have the luxury of excuses.
Yeah.
Right. So how do you soften that? But that's what we do. So every CEO we're talking to said, I don't want to lose the Mercedes. I don't want to lose. Right. I get that. But those are excuses. You're not going to lose anything. You don't have to lose anything.
No, you don't. That's what people are worried about. But it's just that you have a different belief system. You change your beliefs around some things, but it hasn't. If anything, this has re-energized me in business rather than the opposite. I'm 64. And here I am starting out, like I was when I was 24. I got the same energy and drive around this. Why? Because it's exciting. I really believe it. It's aligned with everything I believe in. It's easy to engage people in it because it is so interesting and authentic and comes from the right place. And I'm feeling inspired the whole time. And because I'm not trying to make myself do something I don't want to do or sell something I don't believe in, I don't have all those energy blockages and all that resistance now. And so your whatever that energy is, whatever you want to call that, and wherever it comes from. I mean, I kind of call it source energy, and I realize that we're a vehicle for it, the energy of the universe, or whatever you want to call it. That it flows beautifully when you have no resistance, and it's all about limiting beliefs, resistance, and putting things in the way that don't need to be in the way. And the same with sleep. I think the more resistant you are during the day, the more sleep you need at night.
Yeah, and for me, when I talk to people, we're going out to dinner. My wife and I are going out to dinner with the guy, the president of the company I used to work with, and the first thing he was like, "Hey, listen," I'm like, he's like, "You're the most inspirational person." I'm like, I need to have dinner with you, and I keep telling people, and Jessica said this in her last podcast, and Gary said this, and you've said this right a million times. You are your perspective, whether it's in your professional life or your personal life. So, people are worried about losing. You're not going to lose anything. You're just going to gain. You are your perspective. If you are angry and you are frustrated and you are full of problems in your business life, in your professional life, you're full of that in your personal life. All this new perspective is to help you understand why those are appearing, how you can process those, and how you become a better person in both your professional and your personal life.
Well, that's true, because if you think, I mean, Jessica made a very good point. I was talking to her about the limiting belief thing yesterday. She said it doesn't have to be a woo-woo process. It's what psychologists do all the time. It's reframing, and it is all of that, right? It is just, well, let's identify the limiting belief and let's prove it false. So there's nothing woo-woo about that process, even though, you know, it was a process that was originally channeled by Gary Temple Bodley from Joshua, and then taken to the next level by Jessica. So I wanted to say, in terms of your stuff, I just want to give you a for instance of something that happened last year. I think that there was a woman I was talking to. She's a very successful realtor in Florida. She drives around in a Lamborghini, and she's done a coaching course, and she would rather be coaching than selling real estate. And she's very good at it. And you know, she's had a very interesting life and got a lot of life experience in many things, many dramatic things, you know, and difficult marriage. And she's been an opera singer, and she's got the most extraordinary background. Like she's got the goods. And she had this idea that she could only become a coach when she had an amazing website, and she would quote all these well-known coaches who are very established and at that million-plus authority level. And she said, no, I need a personal brand and all this. And I said, no, you don't. I said, you've got the coaching knowledge. You know who you want to work with. You've got 3 or 4 things that you're really good at and you know a lot about, such as grief and relationships and leadership. So she knew who she wanted to work with, and business people, blah, blah. And I said, you've got a name for your business. You've come up with a name, which I really like. It's a great name. It encapsulates a lot about you and where she's from. And it actually has a real kind of where you're going. So it's a brilliant name. I said, all you need to do is work out a coaching package, right? I'm going to do so many sessions with you, like, you know, 10 sessions or 6 months, whatever it is. And it's either so much a month or pay me $5,000 now. And, you know, we'll have 10 sessions, whatever it is. Like, there's no thought about an hourly rate. And we're going to work on this, and this is what you're going to get out of it. So you need a package. And then all you need is a Stripe account, so that when you're talking to them, you can write down their credit card on the spot, and they're done. And she didn't believe me, right? And then a week later, I just signed up somebody for $2,500. I just signed somebody up for $5,000. So she did all of that with no website, and the only tech she had was a Stripe account, which you can do on your phone, right? Stripe's good on you. The app's really good. So that's the first thing, is that, and it leads into the second thing I wanted to say, which is that you, with that guy, for instance, who you're having dinner with, if you want to coach him, all you need is to say, well, I do coach a limited number of people. You know, I don't do much one-on-one because it takes a lot of time, but I do some of that. And we have a package, and you work out what you want to do. Like, it might be a 3-month or a 6-month that I would probably do a 6-month. And then you would say, right, so I offer a 6-month, blah, blah. And it's, you know, whatever, it's $5,000 a month or $10,000 a month. Like, you actually want to be going for people who, to them, spending 5 or 10 grand is nothing, provided they are convinced of their value. They'll spend any amount of money, right? It's all about the value and what they're going to get from it. And then you would say, right, we're going to have a session a week for 6 months. Anyway, so you want to make sure that the hourly rate is effectively 500 plus. And then when you're off the ball, so to speak, when you're not in the coaching session, you will be doing some work and thinking on their behalf and preparing for the next one. And so they don't necessarily sit there and calculate, you know, what that hourly rate might be. I mean, what is like, if I said, if you had 25 sessions, you know, so 26 sessions, if it was, I mean, that's 30 grand, isn't it? If it was 500 an hour, sorry, 13 grand. Yeah. So you might say, right, it's 2,500 a month for 6 months, right? And we have a weekly, you know, blah, blah. And then you would flesh it out with some things, and I'll give you this resource and that resource. You know, you might have some downloads that you would write in the meantime. And the beauty of this, even if, like, it's the same with small group coaching, that everyone says, if I want to start small group coaching, I need to have the whole program laid out for the year. It's like, no, you don't. you have some resources that you can use if you need them. You know exactly what you want to do in the first one. And towards the end of the first one, you say, right, here's all the things that have come up, and I think that they're the most valuable for you to talk about, for us to talk about next time. What else would you like me to cover? What else is there? Some, I've got other stuff we can talk about, but we've actually gone here, and this, I think, is what this group needs. So in other words, the group tell you every week or whatever it is what they need and what's going to happen the next week. So to start small group coaching, you only need enough for the first session and a process and a strike.
I love that. And I love I love the concept, and I do love the way Gary does it too. Is that so? So you have the one-on-one opportunity, and then you have the group. So if you're going to do a one-on-one once a week or twice a week, and then you have a group once a week, everybody's getting so much more out of it, right?
Right.
And I do think, and that to me, you got to have.
It is good,
clients,
but there's two reasons why he doesn't have much reach, right? The business reason is because he doesn't have a big list. And we've been working on that with him. And he hasn't got a big list because until recently, he didn't have any free downloads on the website where people could just cop up their email, right? And so that's one of the reasons, is that in his website, we're revamping it at the moment because it's too slow. And it's got a very old editor on it. So we're putting on a modern editor. And so then we'll be able to offer many of those free gifts very easily. But at the moment, if we try and add another one, it's going to break the website. so in other words,
takes forever.
He's got some tech and marketing issues there, but he's a very clever man. He's an intuitive, instinctive marketer. And he when something is right, he'll take action instantly. So anyway, that's one reason. But Joshua also has said that a small number of people are ready for the message that Gary is delivering, and only a small number of people, but it will grow. So the fact that he doesn't have the right systems in place to grow it fast, that may be okay, because at a higher level, it's kind of a thing that is growing of its own volition, and it probably will. There's something else I want to say about that. It'll come back to me. Anyway, so I can see that there's a certain parallel as to how this would grow, but it can't grow unless he gets the tech right. However, we are now fixing the tech, and that will remove some of the barriers to it. Yeah.
Well, what he should be doing, all this time is like what I'm trying to show him the value of it right now, because I tag him and I hashtag him. So I tag Gary on every post. I tag Joshua Teaching. I tag Joshua Life. So if anybody clicks on one of those, they go right to Gary's page.
Yeah.
Anybody kicks, right? So I connect everything I do because I believe that this is all Gary's, and I'm giving him credit. When you tag somebody, you give them credit. So I usually tag 7 or 8 people, but the first person I always tag is Gary, Joshua Teachings, and then Joshua Live. And then I'll do like, Tony Robbins and whoever I'm learning from. So they see there's a breadth, right? It's a breadth of people out there. And if Gary took the multi-level marketing approach and empowered you and empowered me and empowered 15 people to say, hey, go out and communicate the Joshua message, and everybody that you bring in, you get a percentage, right? Like you just said to me, you gave it affiliate marketing. Gary's got 100 of some of the most amazing people, right, in his course that would run through a brick wall for him because of what he's taught us. There's no question. There wasn't anything I wouldn't do, right, for the guy. Anything I make sure that everything I'm doing, I tag him, and I'm like, this is where the credit's going to. It's going to you, Gary. Like I said, on TikTok, he was never tagged. I was tagging Tracy. I'm tagging anybody that's associated I can with Gary to say, hey, this is where the credit belongs.
Yeah. So
right.
I think there's something else Joshua said, which I think is true, and it ties in with what I said about the stage of your business. So Joshua said when Gary wrote his first book that he wanted to sell 1 million copies, but he wasn't ready for that. And if he'd ended up on Oprah, he would not have been able to describe his message adequately because he didn't have the knowledge and experience at that time. Now he's ready. So in my speak, it was great to write a book. And this has come from a whole different process, from somewhere else. This is a most unusual situation, but and Joshua was completely right that he needed to be doing the kind of one-on-one stuff and the small group courses and so on to learn what he was doing and how it worked, and then to have the confidence to then go to the next platform. It's only now, many years on, that he would be ready to go onto Oprah. I don't know, does Oprah still, I don't watch television, does Oprah still do anything on TV? I had no idea.
No, but she's still Oprah, to your point. You can just drop the name.
Yeah. She's the standard, right? She's the gold standard when you've made
100%,
it. Right?
100%.
What an astonishing woman. what an
Oh,
astonishing woman. Like,
you know her story, right?
some of it, yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
but
like, raped as
yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
brutalized as a young person,
yeah, yeah,
marginalized. I mean, you talk about overcoming. I
yeah,
mean, she's literally the most insane human being on the planet.
yeah. She's an astonishing person. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's
like I said, I
forget
don't
about
watch
it.
TV, but she's always impressed me. She's always managed to keep authenticity and stay with her heart and all that stuff. And she's
But she
got that
doesn't live in her
magical gift of
past.
reaching people, right?
Yeah,
She
she
can,
doesn't live.
she reaches such a cross section of society too. Yeah, I mean, she's a luminary, really, and she stands for a lot, I think. Anyway, so he wouldn't have been ready then, but he is now, and that's because he's. And it's we're helping to put in the other bits in his business now. So we got a free download of meditations on there,
But it's
but
different, right? So it's a different approach. So we all think, and even the way Gary said that, you need to go to this. Let's talk going to the boom boom room. You need to go. Oprah's the boom boom room, okay? But if you look at how some of the most successful companies on the planet ever were created, the most successful businesses that permeated through and became part of life, proactive, right? They were never in the boom boom room. What they did was they got a few loyal followers that really believed the product changed their life, and then those followers went out and said, "Hey, I'm living a better life because of this experience I had." In because people ask me all the time, "Hey Jerry, what are you listening to? I said I'm Joshua Lives. I said I'm Jessica's all the time. Like, people are constantly asking me this, right? And it's like all I have to say is, "Hey, there's a boot camp starting on March 28th," and Gary would have 500 people if he got on one of the calls and empowered everybody. Hey, I'm making up a number. I'll give you 50%, whatever it is, 10%, whatever. He would have 500, not 100 people doing a boot camp, 500, because it's changed people's lives for the
yeah,
better.
yeah. So it's
And I would
also
actually argue,
in terms of
one
the
quick
tech,
thought, Rob,
right? Go on.
one quick thought. I would actually argue in the fact of people losing their sort of status, or maybe have to giving up some of their money, people are actually making more money than they've ever dreamed possible because of what he's doing. He's actually reversing
Yeah,
people's limiting beliefs on that. You talk about how many
yeah.
times have you heard people like, I had to leave this job, but all of a sudden this came along and I'm making 5 times what I was making, right? Everybody's making more money. There
And
isn't
I'm much
anybody
happier
on
doing
those,
what I'm doing. Yeah.
right?
So I'll
There
tell you
isn't
another
anybody.
thing about Gary's courses is that uh, to Joshua's point that he wasn't ready for the millions. So the boot camp has been until now delivered by email and by Gmail groups, right? Google groups. So that's not scalable. But what Trace, my partner, has been doing is with the boot camp and the Ascension experience, she's put an entire learning platform on Gary's website, LearnDash. So
Yep,
and
I'm
so
on it.
basically it's going to everything, the entire 2 courses, the boot camp and the Ascension experience, will all be completely online, completely automated, and all of the daily emails are automated as well in MailChimp. So in other
That's his
words,
difference, though. I
somebody
can
will
tell you
go into
this.
the website, they will buy the course, and the whole thing happens automatically without a human touching it.
Yeah,
Then
that's
it's
his
scalable.
difference.
Yeah, that's the scalable thing.
Yeah, and that's his difference. His daily emails are literally insane. They're
They
literally
are.
insane.
They're incredible. Yeah.
They're the best.
Yeah.
It's the hands down. Now I've done, and you and I together have done every possible coach known to man, right? If you just
Yeah.
everybody, there's not a better product out there to enhance your business or your professional or your personal life. There's just not a better product. That daily email, those daily little opportunities, challenges, plots, as he likes to call them,
Yeah.
right? You're expanding 10 minutes in the morning.
Yep.
If you're not ready for the meditation, if you're not ready for it, just read the email.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
The stuff is very rich. Another thing I realized, which I think I said maybe in the last episode or the one before, that I used to meditate a lot, but meditation's not really working for me at the moment. But I realized that if I'm looking for a source of inspiration and ideas, which is the ability to quiet the mind and receive inspiration, I'm receiving it. I've got many other ways of doing that. So I'm doing a lot of automatic writing, which brings in a lot of stuff. Surprising how much it brings in, that you start writing something and say, well, this is going nowhere. And then 5 minutes later, like, holy cow, where did that come from? But I also have a very simple process, which probably I learned in meditation, that I know how to actually switch off my mind, just sitting here, anytime, anywhere. I could be doing anything, and then just allow the thoughts to filter in, the inspiration to come. So if I meditated, I may receive a whole lot more, but I am receiving. I have ways of doing that anyway.
I wouldn't judge one as receiving more or receiving less. I like to do both. I meditate in the morning anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour, right? Depending on what I'm feeling like that day. But what I do notice, and I couldn't agree with you more, is the automatic writing is I now have a reference to go back. A lot of the stuff that I'm inspired when I'm meditating is I have to like almost get up at times and make notes, because as you go through meditating for an hour, you're on to like 15 different inspired ideas. And maybe I'm only remembering the last 3. When you're doing your automatic writing, you got a record, right? Jessica, yeah. Jessica does the same thing you do, right? Jessica does the automatic writing. She struggles with the meditation too, right? She would rather, listen to music or take a nap and then do automatic writing. And I agree with you. I think, and that's the thing that I think Gary's teaching us and Joshua's teaching us, is that it's not one way. It comes to us all these different ways, which is beautiful. Don't build a template, right? And then force yourself to fit in that template. Take the idea overall, right?
Yeah.
And you're doing that. That's exactly what you're doing.
So I think part of the reason this happened is a lot of reasons, and a lot of contributions have arrived. And every time I talk to somebody about it, more contributions arrive. So for instance, with Krista, who's a young woman we know through the Joshua community, we're helping her make some online courses, and she has great ideas. She's learning to be more confident with information, inspirations she receives. And she said, a little tentatively, she said, I had a message for you, which was in your courses, to help people to feel worthy as they go through. And and from gamification and so on, I'm aware that you've got to give people a sense of constant wins, and you've actually got to normalize the challenges they face, because everyone's going to have resistance and challenges, and you have to explain to people, well, everybody feels that way. Don't let it overwhelm you. So I thought I got to that point where I'm trying to build in constant wins and people realizing what they've achieved, and also the normalization of challenges. But when she said about, worthiness, I thought, that's a far bigger frame around those 2 small ideas. And I thought those are 2 tactics to help people feel worthy and more worthy as they go. But that's the bigger frame. So that was a gift from, this woman who knows almost nothing about the work that we're doing, for her. She's got these great ideas, and we can help her reach people with these ideas.
I love that. What just came to me on this is you and I should be developing a limiting beliefs app, where what people can do is, because people always ask me, how do you know if you have limiting beliefs, right? 2 different things here, right? If you explain to people what they're feeling and why that's alerting them to look inward, and then also all these excuses, right, that are popping up, give people, and it's what Jessica said, it's like in this new approach to life, we don't have the luxury of excuses. Give a list of excuses people could put in. I'm too afraid. And then give the alternative. Give the alternative. Like, hey,
well, so
right
Jessica's
now,
actually going to do that, isn't she? Do you remember somebody said about the catalog of limiting beliefs? I think she's actually started on that. I'm going to talk to her today. I'll ask her. The second reason why this is happening is that I unlocked some blockages by working with Jessica, and I'm not going to talk about it today, but I ended up doing this process with her, which she said is the most astonishing limiting belief process she's ever seen. It was just like, it was the thing. It was huge. It was massive. And I feel transformed since then. It's just extraordinary. And like you said before, we've both done a huge amount of work of many kinds of coaching and personal growth and spirituality and everything else. And it's this Joshua work, and especially this limiting belief stuff, and dealing with limiting beliefs and identifying fears and taking action, blah, blah. Like, there's a few simple techniques we've all learned, and they are by far the most transformational techniques ever.
No question. If I go back now and I look over the last, 10 years of all the coaches I've taken, and all the books I've read, there's always been this thread of fear and limiting belief and pushing past uncomfortableness, right? And even Tony Robbins and all these people mention, your limiting beliefs. And I actually did I hired a woman to actually work with me on my limiting beliefs about 3 or 4 years ago. It's always been presented to me. And it wasn't until Gary that I was ready to understand it, absorb it, and then process it. But since I've been doing this, little messages have been coming, and I just kind of like, I just want to make the money back. I just want to go back here. I just want to get this, right? And I kept pushing everything aside, with a very, very narrow focus, without understanding that all those things I'm pushing aside, I needed to process to even have a chance to get what I was doing.
That's right. Well, there's a famous Buddhist saying that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And exactly I'll have another Buddhist quote, a Zen Buddhist quote. It's the name of a wonderful, beautiful book, actually, which will probably time to wrap up with this quote, which is, the name of this book is Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. And the idea there is what Joshua has been teaching us recently, which is that a beginner's mind is, well, I don't know anything about this stuff, so let's start from scratch. and then the beginner's mind absorbs everything and has no fixed beliefs, limiting beliefs, or strong opinions around the subject about which they actually know nothing. So the author of this book calls that Zen mind, that the way to benefit from Zen, and indeed the work that we're doing, is to actually have that beginner's mind, right? And Joshua has been saying to us the same thing in a different way, which is, well, do you realize that most of your beliefs are really just ideas or opinions or thoughts? Like most of your ideas and beliefs are not that, most of your beliefs are not that useful to you, and whether they're positive or negative ones or whatever. So would it be possible to suspend your beliefs and actually just focus on your emotional guidance system, which is a whole next level concept? But I found it incredibly liberating to let go of fixed ideas and beliefs around things. And it also opens up, it's like it opens up a source of new ideas and inspiration, because you had that pipe blocked, right? That pipe was blocked, and now you've unblocked that thing with a fixed idea that you thought was a fact. It was just a belief. Like there was this woman I was talking to. She's a very, very clever woman, and she's inadvertently a great teacher of mine in that higher sense. And we were talking about these rapid antigen tests, the RAT tests that have finally come to New Zealand for COVID testing. And the supply has been up and down, because of the global demand. And they're like $5 or $6 a piece. A lot of companies are selling them at cost or very close. But then when they ran out, some companies were charging, one company, she paid $20 for one. And she was annoyed, and she said it's very opportunistic. And I said, well, that's a value judgment. And I mean, she's studied at London School of Economics. She's got she's got many, many degrees. She's very clever, and she's got a very good, solid financial and investment banking background. And I didn't point out to her, but that's the basis of the whole economic model, right? Supply and demand. The supply went down, the price went up. Demand was high, no supply, price. Like, it's economics, that's what you learned in school as a kid about economics. And I said, opportunistic, well, that's a value judgment. She said, yes, it's my judgment and I'm entitled to it.
I love that.
You're entitled to have a limiting belief and a fixed opinion that's not really helping anybody in any way. I thought that was pretty funny.
I love that. And I had heard this quote, which kind of plays in well, and it went along with, like, people spend their whole lives trying to convince you or teach you the lessons that they've either never learned or only gotten right once. So all this conversation that we have, and all these people are talking to you, all your friends, like the peanut gallery, right? Everything that they're saying to you, they've either never gotten right, and what I mean, I use that loosely, never been happy with the outcome, right? Or have only been happy once with the outcome. So it's so funny when I talk to people and you start to understand, you're like, how about just being happy with every day and every outcome, no matter what?
Yeah.
How would you feel if that was the end product for you, is to be happy when you don't hit sales numbers? And people will be like, how is that even possible? I'm going to get fired. Well, wait a minute. There are so many other factors that go into sales numbers. And if you don't hit it this time or this week, maybe you're going to double next week, triple, right? Why is this? How is this for your highest good? It's reevaluating why you are where you are, and then trying to understand how to take those next steps, not in fear, but in love, but in joy. Like you shouldn't have to work hard. You should work in joy. I can work.
Yeah.
You're working 10 hours a day. You're not working. You're not working hard. I don't care what anybody says. You're working in joy. Work is work.
Well, now
The
I'm doing
word
this stuff,
hard.
it doesn't feel like work. It feels like I'm goofing off and I should be doing some work I don't want to do. Yeah.
But
it's
but
completely
we
different
only,
when you're doing something you really want to do.
you're right. But it's only when it says work hard afterwards, right? Like, no, I'm working in joy. I'm studying in joy.
Yeah.
Like, stop studying hard and stop working hard. Stop it right now. And put the same time in, but do it in joy.
Yeah.
That's the big concept that I think CEOs and other people have to understand.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to drain you of everything. It can energize you.
Yeah. Well, my sister, who's come and stayed with us a few times, she lives in a different city, wonderful person. We're very close. She's, in her mind, I think she thinks Trace and I work all the time. And there's two reasons she thinks that. The first reason is that she stayed with us when we happen to be in the middle of a project, but she doesn't know that, we frequently take off 10 to 15 weeks a year effectively. So when we work a lot, but then we'll go and do something or stay with somebody, and we used to travel a lot and we wouldn't be working at all. So she only saw us in the work phase. But the second thing is that her idea of work, like she had a job, her and her husband, they both retired just recently. They both had jobs that were really interesting, good jobs, that many people would have really, really loved. And, beautiful work environment. She was in an amazing place. And then she could not wait to retire and stop work. And so she's really enjoying not working, and that's great. She's making the most of it, and, kids and grandkids and all that stuff. But her version of work, even in a nice job, was something that I would rather not be doing. And when I used to stay in their place in winter, I would hear the door bang as they left in the middle of winter, and it was dark and it would be pissing down with rain. And I think, oh my God, here they are in their 60s and they're still having to do this shit. Like, no wonder. And so
100%.
it's all that frame around work, but I don't know whether she could have approached that job with more joy. But anyway, she's a bumblebee just flew in. Hello. So anyway, bumblebee. So that was interesting. It's about that whole, what's your bumblebee must have a message for me. I don't mind bees, but I don't want to get stung. You can go out now. Normally works if I tell them to go out the door there. Off you go. Anyway, so that's kind of interesting. In the Carlos Castaneda world, this will be a messenger. I'm not quite sure what the message is.
Yeah, as I say, Jessica would be telling
Jessica.
you.
Yeah, it's on the window now. It'll go out in a minute. Normally they go out and I'd say, look, if you don't go out, I'm going to swat you or spray you. That normally does it. Get out now while the going's good, bumblebee. So it normally works, believe it or not. So anyway, the other thing I want to say is peanut gallery. You mentioned, I haven't heard that expression in many years. Do people still say that much?
I do, and I listen, and I talk to my friends, and most of everybody I talk to is 100%, not 90, not 20, 100% influenced by the peanut gallery. And the peanut gallery could be your as a significant executive, could be your board, right? Yeah. It could be as a personal, could be your wife or your kids, could be your in-laws, could be your parents, could be your friends, right? Yeah. That peanut gallery doesn't have a negative connotation. What it does is it takes you from being unlimited to being limited, because what it does is it creates self-doubt. It creates limitations on your limitless magnificence. That's the job of the peanut gallery.
So that's kind of in my course, actually, because one thing that I also saw with some people who were on that call the other day when Kimberly was talking is that people are influenced by family members or friends when they're trying to build a coaching business, for example. But realistically, those people have no idea about any of it. And so my advice is react kindly to those words and accept them lovingly, but only take advice from someone who you are paying for advice or someone who's paying you for what you have. And those are the people you should take advice from, but not the peanut gallery. But the reason I ask is that it's an American expression. I think we never say it here, but we had this American, I went to a Catholic school, and we had these Dutch Assumptionist priests, but then we had this American Assumptionist priest, Father Gregory Boisvert from Boston. And he was an amazing science teacher. He was incredible. But he used to talk about the peanut gallery, which, was an American expression I'd never heard before. And that's the probably the first time I've heard it since I was 14, right? He also used to line up like a pitcher in basketball and throw the blackboard duster at a student who wasn't paying attention or was asleep or something, which these days you get into trouble for, but it was hilarious. And he had all these American expressions we'd never heard. And so that's where I first learned American English, was from him.
I love that. That's hysterical. Yeah, I use the peanut gallery on a regular basis.
Right.
Because it's so powerful.
Very good, really. It's the chattering masses whose opinions you don't need or want, really. And it's the media and the news and all that, isn't it?
And they're usually giving you advice on something they've never done before. How insane is that?
Yeah, and that's what a lot of coaches find, right? To bring it back to that, is that they're trying to set up a coaching business, and then their family is saying, "Well, it's taking you a long time, and you said you were going to launch this, and you should have done this, and you could have done that." And I've had various people this year, I've heard them say that, or they've said it to me. Yeah. Well, that's probably, we're heading to an hour and a half here, so let's wrap it up.
Yeah, thank you. This was great. And I think this gives us something to do, right? So we'll follow up.
Yeah, this is amazing. This is going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to work well for both of us. And I mean, you are, like Gary, you're a natural, instinctive, intuitive marketer and communicator. And you're a natural on those video channels, YouTube and TikTok and Instagram.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate
it.
Thank you.
And you have that gift, and it's like, well, how do I incorporate that into, a business that I would want to build and I would love, that will pay me well for the time and my knowledge, because why shouldn't, I mean, it's an abundant universe of infinite money. So why shouldn't you get a nice chunk of it? So, and that will be a lot of fun. Then besides, you got kids in college.
I do. We got needs. They got needs.
Yeah.
All right, my friend. Hey, listen, thank you. What a great call. And till next time.
Till next time. Okay. Thanks, Jerry.
All right, my friend. Bye-bye.